Our recording.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Exploring Special Ed Data in the MISchoolData portal. I'm Jennifer Parker, and I'm joined today by my partner in crime, Miranda Provost. We are two of the project leads for the ISD leadership with MISchoolData and the Train the Trainer Network. If you're going to join us today in the slide deck, you are welcome to join us on tinyurl.com, MSD-SPED20. Otherwise, you will receive this recording at the end after the broadcast. So there are a couple of us that are responsible for this statewide network. Myself, Kathy Miller, Christy Martin, and Rhonda Provost, obviously. There are also several other regional advisory members. If after today's broadcast you have any additional questions or needs for your region, we are set up according to the old trig regions. So feel free to reach out to the leadership that represents your geography in Michigan to get more information. And also after today's broadcast, there's lots of other professional development materials that are out there. So besides today's webinar, there's also a monthly news and notes that Dr. Provost puts out, as well as many materials that are landing on the professional development toolkit right on MISchoolData.org. For today's session, we're really going to focus on special education. We'll do a quick navigation and some what's new if this is your very first webinar in the portal. And we'll talk specifically to some special education within the K-12 section of the menu. And then we'll help you to kind of think about how that might look in your own district. So we'll start out with defining MISchoolData. So if you have not been to the MISchoolData.org site, it is the state's education data portal. It pulls from a variety of sources, the FID, the REP, the STAR, etc. A lot of different databases and data sources across Michigan into the MISchoolData portal and makes it user-friendly for those that are logged in or those that just come to the website as a public viewer. Pulls into a variety of sites. One of the things that I'll mention is that there is a secure as well as a public view. So with regards to today's broadcast with special education, you definitely want to make sure that you do have a secure login to get to the student level. For a short window of time, the previous site, which was MISchoolData.org, is now located at legacy.MISchoolData.org. For any reason, if you were to need to get to any historical data that did not come to the redesigned site, you are able to do that for a short window of time, but that probably will be ending at the end of December of 2020. We've also included in the slide deck a quick link to a quick start guide. If this is your first overview of the redesigned site, this is a nice one-pager that talks you through where the menus are, where you can get support, how you sign in, the new search feature, as well as some specialized home pages, which are called personas, and then some features that are on the new homepage, such as report updates and the map feature. So with that said, I will talk a little bit about how you can get into the portal itself. So if you haven't had a login on the old site and didn't respond to the multiple emails over the summer, you're going to need to start again by requesting a brand new My Login for Third-Party account. That is the starting point for all access to MISchoolData as a secure user. Then you'll follow the protocols that were in place previously. What happens is you'll go to your once you've created a My Login third party, then you'll make a request with your intermediate school district technical contact, and they will go out, they will find you in the My Login third party list, and they will add you as a new user. If you were previously a user and you were part of the transition and you rolled over, your old credentials should work within the My Login third party system. And just a reminder, because today we're talking about special education, you definitely want to have a secure login. Although many of the materials that we'll show you today are available on the public, I am going to show you from a secure view, as is Dr. Provost. We will be logged into the live site, as well as showing you some screenshots of what it looks like in the secure environment. So I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Provost.
All righty. I'm going to go into what's new. Some of you that are attending the webinar today, you have heard this in the past, but this is just a review for you. But basically, what we're sharing with you today on the home page is the many different ways that you can explore new data that's been provided with the redesign and that's available for your use. And then also we're going to go through the search feature, navigation bar, the persona landing pages, and reporting. So I'm going to start with the first, I call it the top menu bar for the MISchoolData redesign, and it's the Connections tab. And when you pull down the Connections tab, what you are going to find is a number of educational entities that are connected with our Michigan map. So in other words, if you are doing reporting, as Dr. Parker mentioned at the beginning, with the various requirements for public school districts and ISDs, this is a really nice pull down menu because you can get to that particular site immediately. So we kind of call it the one-stop shop of the entities in Michigan with related to the data. Next, we have the education map. In this map, for illustration purposes for today, we do have a map of overlaying the Jackson Public Schools that we've screenshotted for illustration purposes for our webinar today. But you'll also see what information immediately you're able to locate once you select a district. So for example, you'll have the website link, there will be fast facts provided, the related locations for the district, and then what districts might I explore and compare related to Jackson Public Schools. And you can see there are 15 peer districts, as well as some student characteristics that are related to about 50 districts. So again, that's the new education map. Next we have, as Dr. Parker mentioned, the support menu, which is providing you help and support, as well as that's where the professional development toolkit is for the Train the Trainer network that we've established over the last 15 years, 12 to 15 years. When you go to the support menu, you'll find the various items that you can just really quickly search for. There is a glossary there as well. In the search feature, you're going to be able to locate and expand results. And so basically I can put in, say if I'm looking for graduation rate, it's going to pull down all of the areas that would be related to that particular report and how you can navigate through, to get the reports that you need, or the topics or areas of interest that you have through that search feature. And it'll give it to you by all content location, whatever you select in your inquiry process. Next, we have the main menu bar, which is following the black menu bar that I just shared with you and demonstrated. But next we have dashboards and education focus areas. We'll talk a little bit about that. Early childhood, K-12 grade, student subgroups, post-secondary, and workforce. And just a couple items I'll mention. In the legacy site, if you remember, special education was populated here. Our topic today is special education, and that falls under the K-12 grade menu. And I always think of it as this: special education is a service, it's not a place. It's a service that children may come in and out of for, interventions or whatnot. So now that's populated within the K-12 grade environment. And then the other new one on the menu bar, main menu bar, is the student subgroups, and Dr. Parker will talk extensively about that later in today's broadcast. So with personas that follows, we have 4 different persona areas for educators, parents, policymakers, and media. And this is mainly like a one snapshot page where you can find information that's appealing to those particular interest groups. So that's something new, again, with the portal. Next, we have with the navigation bar, we have illustrated here today, the K-12 grade. You can see it pulls down. You can see, I think it's 6 down, you'll see the special education link that will take you to the access what's in special ed, and we'll talk more about that because that's today's focus. But also when you pull down any menu bar from the main landing page, you will see what's most popular, what are the recent updates, what's upcoming new in the portal. And this is just a quick snapshot. Now you can also, these are live links. You can click into those links as well once you pull them down from the main menu bar. Next, we have the featured tools for illustrations for today's webinar. We have 2 screenshots. One's for trending now, and the other one is feature dashboard. So you can see when you pull down trending now, it's going to display student enrollment. You can view a report or many reports. MISchoolData has about 98,000 reports that are available to users. Staffing information is another example, retained in grade. And then moving over to the feature dashboard, you can see that it's illustrated in charts and graphs, just like you have used in the past with the portal. And then Dr. Parker talked a little bit about the transition with the migration with logins. The same was applicable with reports from the legacy site. We're referring that to the legacy site that's available to users through the end of this month. Basically, all of the pinhole reports are applicable to historical data that was in the legacy site and has transferred into the new redesigned site. So this is just an illustration to show you what was old is still populated into new. And I know today there's a screenshot for you on all the history of special education reports that are in the portal. And then I'll share with you on the other new feature is the compare schools, districts, and ISDs. And when we looked at that Jackson Public School slide that shared information about comparisons, this is an example of what you can do. So the compare tool, it really allows you to select up to 12 locations across Michigan, different entities to compare on a variety of topics. And this is just a screenshot in an example of that feature. Next, we'll go into dashboards and education focus areas. We just have a quick screenshot on this. This is the landing page. This is what will be populated. In the last couple weeks, we've had a new dashboard come to surface here, and that's the extended COVID-19 learning plan dashboard. So these are the dashboards that will populate once you hit that landing page. And you can look at, you know, the 30,000 foot view. That's what a lot of this detail involves. You can look at district best practices, and then also you can look at the focus areas of the education dashboard. So I'm going to talk real quickly about early childhood that's related to special education. As I mentioned, early childhood does have its own menu bar. The landing page that you pull down basically provides you with all of those areas that are links and accessible to the early childhood program. This particular slide also includes a secure login, what it looks like with the secure login, and that's where you would have access to the third grade assessment outcomes for early childhood participants.
And if you do not see the third grade assessment outcomes for early childhood participants when you log in as a secure user, reach out to your technical contact at your ISD, because if you are interested in special education, that is something you are going to want to be able to see so you can make connections. So there we go.
All right, so with it, what you can see is the third tab down is the link for the continuity of service in special education. So as Dr. Parker mentioned, this is data related to children. So this will require the secure login. So basically here, there are two different areas you can access related to the service comparisons, as well as the pathways. So how did students receive their early intervention instruction and what services were provided to them in special education? Next, we have the snapshot report that's available for service comparisons. And again, this is related to early childhood. So what you can see here is we've given you the snapshot view of the statewide percentages of students receiving birth services prior to kindergarten. So you can see that at a glance. And then also the pathways report, which is next, will share with you, it's color coded, what pathway was that child attending? So was it early on? Was it, were they receiving special education services? Were they receiving services through early childhood with Head Start or with GSRP? Those are all programs that you can follow with a child in their pathway from basically birth to before they enter kindergarten. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Parker, who's going to talk about K-12 as well as special ed specifically and student subgroups.
So specifically, to kind of follow along with what Dr. Provost talked about, we now have got special education in the K-12 menu. So for the purposes of today's broadcast, we thought it was important for you to understand where the special education information that you might have been used to on the legacy site has moved to. So as Dr. Provost mentioned, in K-12 is where special education is. You come into this menu and you drop down. You'll notice that special education is here on the left, and you'll need to activate that menu. One of the easiest ways to get to everything that's K-12, if you're not just honing in on special education, is to come to that landing page. And if I go right here to the landing page, the very first one on the left, it will bring me to kind of like a Chinese buffet of all things K-12. And you'll notice you do have your own little special education box on the landing page that you could run all the inquiries for special education just by coming here to the K-12 landing page. The landing pages are like your buffet. Every single menu has a landing page, but this is how you'll access this is one way for you to access special education information. A couple of suggestions with regard to navigation. We've talked a little bit about the main menu across the top and that K-12 menu, but these are also called sub-menus, and these hyperlinked are called reports. So when you're moving through, if you're a facilitator and doing an explanation of where to find things on the portal, those are some of the terms that we use. Another element of conversation or just sharing with regard to navigation is, besides that menu and the sub-menus, there's also ways that you can filter, print, share, and find out more about the report. You may have been spoiled by these features in the past, but you'll really be spoiled by them now that we've left the legacy and the redesign site. The About This report is pretty comprehensive. They've added a lot of information to the About This reports. They've also updated the search functionality so that it's more like a Google search. And your inquiry settings, gone is the yellow button. We now have a blue update this report. I'll mention one other thing with regard to navigation that might throw you. There is up in this top right-hand corner, if you see my mouse, there's a little caret. These drop down and collapse. This obviously, when it's down, it says it's expanded. When it's up, it's contracted. And sometimes these location and report settings are not visible because they have been collapsed. So watch the carets when you're using the inquiry settings to do location and report settings. So let's dig into that special ed menu that is in the K-12. So we'll come into K-12, we're gonna go to our sub menu, and you'll notice there are 4 different reporting features and functionality within the portal. There's the annual public reporting, continuity of services and special ed program data portraits overview, and then an opportunity for you to download additional data files. So the first one is annual public reporting. In this section of the portal, you're trying to see if districts are following the law or the state targets to meet with children with disabilities. There are 3 sections for this. The annual special ed public reporting is in the special education summary, and these are simply hyperlinks to spreadsheet downloads. There are also some common questions in terms and vocabulary, and there's also another early on spreadsheet that connects to what Dr. Provost was talking about with early childhood. So the special ed summary really kind of brings you to a landing page and gives you some hyperlinks to download. The indicator report summary, which is a sub menu, brings you to those location and report settings. And again, you've got the caret here to worry about, you've got the blue update report, and you can either use the search feature and just type in your district, or you can use the inquiry settings to change your report. If for some reason you're not exactly sure what's going to be in here, you can use the About This report feature. The indicator report summary has an example here on the left. There are several indicators, obviously, in special education. We know that they're numbered. They, for example, the 3B is reading, 3B math, 3C reading, 3C math, based on those indicator numbers from in special education. You'll take a look at the descriptions. There is a sample of the target data and the state performance, as well as if they met or did not meet that criteria. So that indicator report summary can be run in that first inquiry within special education. Another feature here in the top right-hand corner is downloading and printing. This is common throughout the entire website. So as you're pulling information and gleaning it, you can download it, you can print it, you can also grab the hyperlink and share it out. So that was this indicator report summary. Now, if I go to selected indicator reports, there are also several of the indicator reports all the way through B14 that you are able to generate for your district. Right now, obviously, I've got a district selected, but I also could go ahead and reset this to statewide to get an overarching idea. So you choose your ISD in your district, you choose your reporting year, and then the indicator that you're hoping to run. For example, early childhood, suspension, expulsion by race, ethnicity, etc. Now, notice here, this says settings require changes, and this is unique to the special education area so far. If you have not selected, it's not going to allow you to use the blue update report button yet. If this button is not blue, it means you've got a few more inquiries that you need to select. So once I run the report, I'll have a sample indicator report. And here's an example from indicator 6. Again, it gives me the information, the state targets, the state performance on targets, and then it gives me the inquiry for the one that I've run. So for this school, it tells me for B06 or for B6B, what my performance was. So that was annual public reporting. I'm going to move next to the second area of our special education. And I will pause here for just a second and say, if you do have any questions and you want to put those in the chat box, Dr. Provost will be happy to kind of bring those to my attention. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and keep going. So the second section of special education is continuity of services. You've seen this before with the early childhood, where we were looking at continuity of services with early childhood special ed. Now we're in K-12 and we're looking at K-12 continuity of services. Again, across the board, from age, gender, and subgroup, how are we doing in that across the board conversation with providing services for students? The service comparisons and the service pathways, again, very similar to what Dr. Provost showed you in early childhood, similar look and feel. In fact, the early childhood is linked here, the birth services to prior to kindergarten. I could also go K3, or I could also go receiving continuous services. And again, there's a legend here from early childhood special ed, early on, etc. And these are in a common look and feel to what you are used to from the legacy site. Again, it's going to show your comparison with your ISD to the statewide, as well as that table that is down below that will that we have become used to in the legacy site. A graph and then a table. And then, as always, the download print feature for you to change. And you'll see here that I've got this caret where I can also edit. So a reminder that sometimes you get a tip or a trick about the caret, that there's more information. And if I wanted to change my inquiry, I need to click on this caret so that my location and report settings drop back down. To take a look at the second tab across service pathways. In this section, we've left service comparisons and we've gone to service pathways. Again, common look and feel with the location and report settings. Common blue button. Once we run our inquiry, it will show you the age and grade timeline, birth to 3, 3 to 5, and kindergarten through 3rd. And you also see that you've got the table that you are used to. So, any questions so far, Dr. Provost? All righty.
None.
All right, we're going to keep going. We're going to go to K-12 special education programs and data portraits overview. This is one of my favorite places to come to show new teachers as well as all teachers, because it gives them a nice snapshot of what are the special populations that you're working with within your district. It's kind of eye-opening sometimes. The data portrait overview gives, it obviously goes into the idea, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. It has a nice hyperlink to that area of the IEP conversation. There's administrative rules link. There's a link to the MDE site and ideadata.org site. So really the data portrait overview has some important links in special education that are common to how the conversation rolls. The second section, the disability age range and educational setting and demographics, are where the inquiries live. Now this has a totally different look than what it did in the legacy site. It obviously is, you've got the 3 tabs across the top, you've got your location and report settings here, but it's got a little bit different look and feel. You are going to have a list of all the disabilities that you are able to search for. And what you might be looking for is, what is the number of students who are district services that have visual impairments? Or what is the snapshot of students that are hearing impaired? Or so basically you're looking by disability to get a snapshot of what your district demographics are. And again, you can change the year, the disability, etc. Down here, the settings require changes. If you'll remember from a previous conversation, this needs to be turned blue before it goes ahead and you can update your report. When I go next to age range, I can also look at the age range of students that receive services. This is an example of all districts in an ISD from age ranges of in a graphic format. You'll notice that I've chosen snapshot here. In some of the inquiries that you run, you can change from snapshot to trend. And again, a trend is usually a 5-year line, but if there's more data, there will be more than 5 years, obviously. So whatever data is displayed, it's either by snapshot or trend. Then you have your tables below with the age range, the student counts, and by entity breakdown. And the entity breakdown, these are nice to have as a download. If you're interested in them, you can download them from right here. You don't have to go out and request data files. These are a direct download. So the last section within this area is the educational setting and demographics. Again, it adds some additional report categories here for you to search by. It's some additional filters by student group, obviously by year, but it obviously is just another way to search for information by setting or by demographics. So that is the data portrait, disability, age range, and educational setting and demographics in that menu. So there are several places that you've done download and print. If you find that the information that you've downloaded and print is not what you needed, or you need more information, there is also a buffet of additional data files depending on your secure access. These are posted spreadsheets out on the website. Depending on your privileges, the 1920 Special Education Counts download Excel file is available here. You come to the site, if you're logged in, you'll be able to grab those downloaded reports. You'll also notice here that in the top right-hand corner on many of your screens, many of your inquiries have this share button. When you see the share button, that is either going to allow you to grab a quick link, like a tiny URL, or allow you to forward the download. So that was the special ed menu. I'm going to just go live here to the live site and just remind you that I'm in K-12. I'm here in special education, and I've got 4 menus. These are the 4 that we've just gone through. I'll also remind you that we've gone into early childhood and looked at continuity of service and special education in the early childhood menu. Where I'm going to go next is student subgroups. And with student subgroups, there are a ton of student subgroups that you can service. And students with disabilities is one that obviously this audience today is very interested in. The student subgroup menu has its own private Idaho because there were so many unique subgroups that were being searched out in the portal. So CEPI went ahead and with the redesign has added this as a new feature and functionality. The one that we're interested in of the student subgroups is the students with disabilities. You'll notice there are others that you can run. Perhaps you're looking at homeless or foster care or race, ethnicity, or ELL, those subgroup populations. For us, we're looking at students with disabilities report category. And so by using the student subgroup menu, you're able to run the students with disabilities report, and there are several additional inquiries that you can run. For example, an age range, disability, and these are several of the reports that you would have seen previously, but it's nice because it brings it into a nice little filtering feature that allows you to kind of get deeper into your inquiry. Up here on the top left, it'll show your results by just that content or by location if you just wanted to search a county or a district, or you could also look for special topics. So that is the students with disabilities piece of the subgroup menu. Once that pops up, you will also have additional inquiry opportunities because the subgroup is trying to filter and get you down to the nitty-gritty of where your inquiry is headed. Just because you've done a subgroup search and it brings you here, you are still able to change your inquiry settings. You can change your report category, your grades, your crosstabs, etc. So the subgroup piece allows additional filtering and features. So with that said, I'm going to turn it back to Dr. Provost, who's going to take us to the end where we will handle some questions and answers.
Well, in closing, as we mentioned today in our broadcast, there are thousands of report combinations that are available, whether it be through the educator persona, dashboard and education focus areas, the K-12 grade menu, populated with the many special education reports and features. Also, we shared with you the subgroups and how unique that is to the redesign phase. So we hope that you were able to become more familiar today with the special education features with the dashboard. I know I learned a few things today as Dr. Parker was sharing with us, especially with the additional filters that are available and that, you know, in the past were not as user-friendly. You had to do more searches and such. So we hope we covered all that with you today. And we want to also remind you in closing that your regional advisory membership is available to you for your region at any time. If you need any follow-up or more information, your leads are across the state. Please feel free to reach out to them. We also want to inform you that we have webinars actually scheduled through May 4th of 2021. These are the ones in a snapshot over the months of January and February. So please feel free to join them or pass this information on to your circle, what topics would be applicable to those groups. And then last we have, if you are interested in earning sketchies for today's webinar, we have a link, a unique link there at the lower area of the slide. And it'll bring up a spreadsheet. You will just need to go in and populate those various cells, and then it will actually give you an application and confirmation for you to submit your form to Angie. She works at our administrative level and processes those for you. If you have more questions or need more information, again, a reminder that our resource toolkit is under development. It is evolving with the redesign. That is again from the support menu. And if you have questions, technical questions can be referred to CEPI. If you have questions with my third-party login, visit the help desk page or the My Login Help page. And any other details with logins, of course, contact your contact at the ISD for your particular service area in Michigan. And then, of course, the TTT network questions can be referred to Dr. Parker or Kathy Miller at Shiawassee RESA. We thank you for attending today's session. We hope this was very useful in your area of work with special education. And we send you off with having a great day, keeping safe, having a wonderful holiday. And we're going to stay on for a few minutes if you have any further dialogue or questions. I don't see any posted in the chat. I'm going to post the tiny URL for the sketchy link, and we'll stay on a few minutes. So I'm going to stop the recording.